Everyone, welcome back to my video series. In this video, I'm going to talk about what are exceptions and how do you handle exceptions in Java. Okay, and of course, Selenium also has got certain exceptions. So eventually, we would also learn how do we handle exceptions in Selenium as well. Okay, so let's get started. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a new project, Java project, let's say, and this is, let's say, module 5 exception handling. Okay, let me close all the existing files. So if you see here, I've created a new project, and under source I'm going to create a package, let's say package 1 basics. Okay, let's see basics of exceptions. Okay, so let's create a class, for example 1. Now in this example 1 class, I'm going to create a main method, correct? Because JVM comes in the main method first, right? Now in this main method, let's say I have one sysout, let's say line 1, and then I have another sysout, let's say line 2. Okay, and in between, let's say I want to divide a number by 10, right? Very simple program. I've got only 3 lines over here, and if I execute this program, so you should get line 1, 10, line 2. It's taking time to execute, although it's very simple program. Okay, let me stop this and rerun. Okay, just a second. Okay, I'm not able to execute this program. Oops. Let's see. So I'll create a test class, and I'm going to create a main method. Let's say sysout hello, and let's try to execute this program. Okay, something wrong with my Eclipse. Okay, so let me just close this Eclipse. Okay, and let me pause this video till the time I launch this Eclipse again, because it's gonna take time. So let me pause this video and come back. Alright, so I've resolved the problem now. Okay, so I just restarted my Eclipse and it's working fine now. So if you see, guys, okay, if I run this program, I'm gonna get line 1, 10, and line 2 as expected, right? But let's say now if I try to divide a number by 0, okay, and if I rerun this program, okay, so you would see here, you would get output something like this. Okay, and what this output is all about, okay, let's try and understand this. Okay, so if you see, it has printed line number 1 here, correct? And then at line number 7, okay, it had thrown an exception. Okay, why? Because it cannot divide a number by 0, so it had thrown a exception. Okay, and this exception is nothing but this one actually. Okay, so this is the information about this exception. So let's understand this. Okay, first of all, this exception is of type arithmetic exception. Okay, and the arithmetic exception message is this one. It's a divide by 0 exception, correct? And this exception has occurred at line number 7 in your program basically. So if you see, do you see this is the line number 7 where we're trying to divide a number by 0, and the same thing is being shown in the exception information. So the exception information, guys, which you get over here, this information is known as print stack trace. Okay, exception stack trace, we call this as exception stack trace as well. Okay, but couple of interesting things if you see here, whenever you come across a exception basically, okay, in your program, okay, your program gets terminated basically. Okay, what happens, your program gets terminated. So if you see at line number 7, the exception has occurred, and your JVM has thrown that exception to the console, to the user, and it has immediately stopped the execution. So you would see line number 2 is not executed at all. Correct? So in that sense, it is very important to handle your exceptions basically. Why? Because let's imagine you have a test case which has 100 steps, correct? And let's say your test case breaks at line number 10 itself, right? So in that case, of course, you don't want to stop your flow at line number 10, right? Rather, you want to handle your test case, or rather you want to handle your exception at that point and proceed further, right? Another example from Selenium perspective, let's say I launch Amazon website, and on Amazon website I want to see whether 10 items are displayed or not on the home page, right? So out of this 10, let's say if one item is not displayed, I don't want to stop my execution. Rather, I want to handle that one element which is not displayed and continue doing further validations, correct? So so to handle exceptions in Java basically, so I know that this line is exception prone. Okay, so I'm gonna select this line, right click, and just say surround with try and catch block, right? So if you see, so now I'm handling this line with try catch block, guys. Okay, and now if you see, so let me put a breakpoint at line number 8, and let's do a debug run, right? So if you see, now the control will come to line number 8. I will do a step over. Okay, that line got executed. Now it is checking whether the exception has occurred or not. And if you see, guys, exception has occurred, right? And this exception is a class, and E is a reference basically. Okay, and E dot print stack trace is a method of this exception, correct? So again, if I do step over, do you see on the right hand side it has printed the stack trace of my exception, and then it's gonna execute line number 13, right? So if you see, by handling this exception using try catch block, I'm able to execute the entire program. The program is not terminated in between, correct? Now every exception has two important methods. The first one is e print stack trace, and the second one is get message basically. Okay, so let me show you like this. These are the two important methods of your exception. Okay, so print stack trace prints the detailed information, as in at what line the error has come, what type it belongs to, and so on and so forth. Whereas get message simply tells you that what type of exception it is. Okay, so if I execute this program, say it says it's a divide by zero exception, correct? Now let me create another program, example 2, and just say okay, right? Now guys, so I will just have get message. You can also have your customized message as well here. Okay, for example, I'm going to say sys out, let's say exception occurred. You can also put anything in the catch block basically, correct? Now now let's say I have another line in between. Let's say sys out, okay, line in try block. Okay, now what should be the output here if I execute? So exception occurs at line number 8, then immediately it jumps to catch block, right? So this line number 9 never gets executed. Whenever there's an exception at line number 8, it will straight away jump to catch block, right? So if you see, again I'll put a breakpoint here and let's debug it. Okay, exception, let's do a step over. See, it has jumped to catch block. It didn't execute line number 9 because there was an exception, correct? And if you see, the customized message got printed here basically, correct? Now as I said, exception is a class, right? Now there are hundreds of exceptions which are present in Java, right? So let me draw a quick diagram. So can I say then exception is my parent class here? Correct. This is your exception basically. Okay. Now guys, this exception, of course, in Java there are lots of exceptions, correct? One of the exception I showed is arithmetic exception. Just a second. Okay, there are lots of exception. Okay, file not found exception, timeout exception, and so on and so forth. Okay, there are lots of exceptions which are present. Let's say arithmetic exception, or let's say file not found exception. Okay, or maybe timeout exception, or you can also say array out of bound exception, correct? So there are lots of exceptions in Java, and all of them are basically extending the exception class. So can I say then in this case exception is a super class for all the exceptions basically, correct? So in this case, let me say this is my e.print status. Okay, and if I execute this program now, just a second. So if you see, as I said, this exception is of what type? Arithmetic exception. But arithmetic exception is what? Is a subclass of exception, right? So I can either handle using exception, or I can also write down arithmetic exception as well. That's absolutely fine. But in this case, what will happen? Let's say in this program, now the catch block is capable to only handle arithmetic exception. If anything else comes in between, maybe if there is an exception around array out of bound, then this catch block may not be able to handle that exception. Okay, so it's always better to handle exceptions using exception block, so that it's gonna handle all types of exceptions, correct? Now at times you would also see people writing multiple catch block. Okay, so try can have multiple catch blocks as well. Okay, let me show you like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, just a second. So now I will put arithmetic exception. Let's say AE. AE is a reference, guys. Okay, and I'm going to say AE dot print status. Now in this case, if you see, this try block is having two catch blocks, correct? This is one catch block for handling arithmetic exception, and the other catch block for handling exceptions, basically in general exception. So whenever you come across arithmetic exception, it will be caught in this block, and it will straight away execute line number 17. If it's anything other than arithmetic, then this block gets executed, right? So don't get confused. Even if you see multiple catch block, that's fine. Okay, you can very well have it, but while writing the multiple catch blocks, keep in mind the hierarchy should be child to parent. it means arithmetic is a child class. It should come first and then the exception should come, right? If you do the other way around, for example, if you put exception over here and arithmetic exception, let's say down, then in this case what happens, any exception goes in the first block, so this block is of no use, control will never come to this block, correct? Though maybe it's a timeout exception or a file not found, arithmetic, or array out of bound, any exceptions will be caught in the first block itself. So this block is as good as a dead code, and that's what your compiler is complaining about. It says this is an unreachable catch block, right? You cannot have parent to child hierarchy here. It has to be always from child to parent. Okay, so let me comment out this section, okay, saying this is a basically unreachable code, basically, correct? Like this. All right, so I hope you have understood what is exception, how do you handle it, why you need to handle it. Exception can have multiple catch block. Exception is a parent class. All other exceptions are subclasses to this exception class. Okay. Then what should be the hierarchy and so on and so forth. Now guys, I'm gonna create package 2 and I'll give name as error basically. Okay. So in Java, basically exception is a different term and error is a different term. Okay. These are two different terms basically. Okay. So first of all, what is error? Okay, so error is something and a critical situation which is occurred in a program and which is not meant to be recovered basically. Whereas exception is something which is meant to be recovered basically. Okay, so I'm gonna create first example of the error just to explain you. Okay, so let's have a main method. Okay, now guys, again I'm gonna say sys out, let's say line 1, and at line number 7 let me try to create two-dimensional array, and let's specify a very big size, okay, like this, like this. Okay, now of course what will happen guys, here it will try to accommodate this array on your heap basically, right? So let me say line 2 here. Okay, so let's try to execute this program. Okay, so at line number 7 your JVM will try to allocate certain space to this array on your heap, and let's see what it does. Now if you see, while executing this program it has thrown you an error basically. Do you see? It says it's a out of memory error. Do you see? It's not a it's not an exception, it's an error basically, correct? And what type of error it is? It is a Java heap space. Java is running out of space basically, correct? Now how I can handle it then? So just copy this particular error, okay, and you can simply select this line which you feel is error prone, right click, just say surround with, and just say try catch. Now you know that this is an error, so if you have an exception block it will not be handled because this is not an exception, so you need to put something called as out of memory error, correct? And now if you execute guys, see it's printing line 2 as well, right? So this block is able to handle your error. Let me run it in a debug mode, okay, so that we'll get proper output. So I'm gonna say no here and this step over, then it has thrown error, right? Then it has printed stack trace and line 2 will be printed. Got it? Now the way exception is a superclass, exception is a parent class in Java, guys. Okay. Similarly, you have something called as error class as well. Okay. So let me create that. Okay. So there's something called as error class as well. Okay. And this again error is extended by different errors, right? For example, out of memory is one of the error, right? And so on and so forth, right? So out of memory, correct? So in the same program I can also handle this using a parent class like this, the way we did it for exception. Same goes with error as well, correct? And the program should run as it is. Fine. Now in exception in Java, okay, there's another class called as throwable. Basically, what is that class? That is throwable. And this throwable class is a parent of your exception as well as your error, basically. Okay, what is this throwable? Throwable is a superclass for error and exception, meaning, guys, okay, you can very well write down here throwable as well, correct? For example, if you want to handle errors as well as exception, you can straight away write down a throwable class, correct? So let me show that. So I'm going to create package 3 here, throwable, right? And in this package let me create example 1. Okay, I'm going to create main method, correct? Let's test this out. Line 1, correct? Now after this let's try to divide number by 0. Okay, then I have, let's say, line 2, right? And in between let's try to declare big array, basically. Okay, so I'm going to create an array of this size like this. Okay, what I did now, if you see, I will enclose these two lines, surround them with try catch block. Now I know that this block basically can generate exception as well as error. So what I'm going to do here, instead of exception I will handle it using throwable class, because it's a parent class and it can handle errors as well as exceptions, correct? Now if I execute this code, guys, you would simply see here. So if you see this line number 8 generates exception. So let me do a step over. See, it has jumped to catch block because the exception was generated, and then it would print the stack trace, correct? It has printed a stack trace saying it's arithmetic exception and divide by 0 is the message, and it has come at so and so line, correct? Line number 8, if you see here, right? And then, guys, just resume the program. Now let's comment out this line, or maybe shuffle these lines. Okay, and now if you see at line number 8, what will happen? It will generate out of memory error, and that will also get handled over here. So let me do that. See, it has thrown out of memory error, and then line 2 got executed. So in short, okay, what I am trying to explain here, that throwable is a parent class, and it is capable handling exceptions as well as errors, basically. Okay, right. Now how this is related to Selenium. Okay, so in Selenium, okay, of course Selenium is built over Java, right? So Selenium would also have a lot of exceptions specific to Selenium, right? But all those exceptions which Selenium has given, they are ultimately also extending what, guys? They are also extending this exception class. Okay, so in Selenium we might come across something called as timeout exception. Okay, no such element found exception. Okay, then maybe invisible element not visible, exception. Okay, then maybe stale element exception. Okay, so these are the exceptions which are specific to Selenium basically, guys. Okay, but keep in mind they are extending exception class is extending throwable class. So if you write down your Selenium code and simply try catch block, try catch with exception, that will do. Okay, you don't have to write down specific exceptions as such. Okay, all right. So that was about exceptions in Java or in Selenium. Okay, I hope this video has helped you to understand this concept. Okay, all right, guys, thanks for watching this video. Goodbye.